Hello and welcome to this fourth lecture in Meister Design for Extended Realities, Extended Reality and Robotics. And today we're going to look at various examples of extended reality and robotics. We're going to try to draw inspiration. And like in the previous lecture on fiction, there's going to be some examples that incorporate both extended reality and robotics, some that only incorporate one or the other. There's many different positive uses we can imagine for such technologies in entertainment, education, treatment. In entertainment, maybe it can allow free movement through space and time and this supernatural kind of telepathy-like communication. We can, for example, do tourism. We can go to places that we couldn't normally go to. And with robotics, we can not just see those places, but we can also maybe do things even in some remote location. So we can have maybe autonomous vehicles that will bring us to some site. We can have also even robot animals or something. There's also commercial uses for XRR. So, for example, seeing online products before buying, seeing product info superimposed over your view, like the prices or something. Robots that will maybe carry your shopping cart or something, or give you recommendations. For healthcare and treatment, such technologies can enhance the positive emotions that we feel. It can make us more feel good or comfortable, and also enhance our empathy. So we can go into the shoes of others. We can see what it's like to have a different skin color, height, age, gender, or to have some kind of health problem. We can also try to, if we have some type of problem, we can try to treat that, like, for example, phobia of a spider or something like that. There's this quote that I like a little bit about gender euphoria. This person who said, paradoxically, it was the first time that this person really felt like herself when being able to use this virtual character. And there's sometimes a comfort from being able to leave behind all the things that come with a physical body. For education, there's also a lot of training and research that's also possible. So, for example, in medicine or for surgery, or also for defense. So there's apps like this touch surgery app where you can learn how to do surgery. In the Ukraine, they're using this virtual reality training to shoot down enemy missiles that are trying to attack them. There's dentist robots that look like humans and they react sort of like humans. If you make a mistake, they say, oh no, stop that. We also have robotic targets that Marine Corps will train with. We can get better feedback from participants in user studies, because maybe it's not just, sometimes it can be very abstract. Imagine some type of situation. Instead of that, we can actually immerse them in some type of situation using extended reality or robotics. Let's go a bit deeper now into some specific examples. So, for example, in entertainment, robots are enabling some new kinds of hobbies. So, for example, this first-person view drone piloting, which includes drone racing and stuff like that. So you put on this headset and you can see from your drone while you're piloting it around in a very natural way. Some people are using drones to fish also, and to even search for some type of historical site in the ocean or something. We have AR go-karts. For example, this company that's named over here, you can ride a go-kart through this virtual map, this augmented reality map that's generated by projectors, and also use sort of virtual weapons and tools to interact with others. We have these holographic circuses with virtual robot animals, the Circus Roncalli, which has no live animals, so it's very humane. We have more and more cases of using technology to create new kinds of displays. So, for example, these drone displays since 2012. Recently, there is this outrage against these displays just in the sky using drones to advertise Candy Crush in New York. They also have ships where they fill them up with LEDs and then can make dynamic displays that way. And there's these ideas also of having satellite-based ads or also artificial shooting stars. Those are startups in Russia and Japan. There's also groups that are using drones to be able to show what some historic building would have looked like. So if it's a ruins, for example, recreating the missing part. We also have, of course, historical artifacts from museums that can be seen in augmented reality or virtual reality. And there's also little Easter eggs, like if you go to this airport, to some of the shops and you have their app, you can find some type of special present that will give you a discount. Telerobotics is quite an old area. So there's this robot in the garden, for example, where you could maybe operate the robot to give the plants water or something like that. This idea of digital immortality that I mentioned before, my group in Japan, where I was a PhD student, they created this android of a famous storyteller. And somebody has also created a virtual robot of this famous singer, Teresa Teng. Also, a woman was brought back to life holographically as a virtual robot to interact with people at her funeral. There's a lot of stuff that's being done with extended reality and robots for art. These are creative and emotional processes like writing and painting and comedy and all this kind of things. And some people still say that these are impossible for computers to do because computers are just sort of rehashing data. But I think that humans also, we aren't able to be creative from the time we're born. We actually spend years observing different things. So it's very interesting what the future will hold, I think. There's various theater plays, for example, with robots. There's also various ways to dance with robots or to just have a robot dancing for you. There's art in nature, so projection onto boulders, trees, and ponds. There's VR equipment that's also there to help you to learn to do some type of hobby or sport. So, for example, this soft robotics glove to help you to learn piano. There's different apps that you can use for tennis. There's robots that also will pick up or shoot balls for tennis, table tennis also. For billiards, there's projects that have used a projector to project onto the table some suggestion of how you could hit the balls in a good way. For golf, there's various different apps that you can just spawn instantly anywhere you want your own little mini golf course, and then you can move your smartphone to hit the ball. There's also golf robots that pick up balls, and also robots that even shoot golf balls. So there's this story, if you're interested, about this robot that they had a lot of trouble setting up a demo, and then right at the end it actually got a hole in one. There's many other different systems involved with sports. So, for example, for soccer, we have this PhotoVision platform that can generate tracking data through computer vision and capture events like goals from some type of camera data. So you can just be holding a cell phone, get some data of a game, and it will do this type of computation for you. You can get a bus ticket in Romania by doing some squats in front of a machine that will check you. There's all types of robots that are designed for sports as well, like a soccer goalkeeper that Messi scored on. There's a volleyball blocker robot, robots that shoot basketball hoops. Also, there's virtual robots that you can see on YouTube. If you want to do exercises, they can guide you in exercise routines. Animals is another thing. This could be like a next step in the future from bird watching with binoculars, is using sensors with animals in a non-invasive, non-hurtful way. For example, snakes were used to monitor radiation at the Fukushima, where there was the nuclear disaster, and snails also to gather data. And many kinds of animals or insects can also be used in that way. We also have these sort of art concept prototypes of animal cyborgs. For example, this goldfish that rides in its tank, and when it swims to one end of its tank, the robot moves forward. When it swims back, the robot moves back, that type of thing. So it can steer itself. There's robots designed to work with people's dreams. There's robotic devices that simulate tails or ears, these limbs that humans don't have, where you can, for example, with this one on the right, it has a brain-machine interface. So when you think in a certain way, the ears will wiggle. There's sort of interesting things like this portal between cities, Vilnius and Lublin. And those things could probably be extended over time, so that you might even be able to do something on the other end. There's also these traffic lights that were said to be in some part of Germany where you could play games with somebody on the other side of the street. There's lots of live webcams, same thing, very interesting. Often they show animals, or they show sort of famous parts of different cities around the world. And these could become more interactive over time. There's also various kinds of robots that have been created to mimic these ideas, these fantasy ideas we have, like robots that look like gremlins or dinosaurs or dragons or skeletons and all that kind of thing. There's also robotic devices like magic gloves that apply some force. When you apply force, it helps you to do things that require strength. Or magic cards, carpets, toys, plates, and hats, like this idea of the sorting hat in Harry Potter. Somebody's designed a hat like that for children with autism, where it should be able to help the person to express their emotions and different stuff like that. There's some really fun robot magic acts that I encourage you to look up if you're interested. And it's not just it is entertainment, but it's not just entertainment. This kind of work, this kind of development and research, it can also be used to develop useful insights into how such systems can manage people's attention, for example. There's also movies, like AR movies, that you can be part of. Disney has one, and you can download apps that can put some arbitrary person into a movie, like Reface. There's some really great tools that are being designed for accessibility, like the Samsung Relumino, where it can sharpen your vision. It has 4 modes. One is to sharpen your vision. Another one is to change text to make it more high contrast. Another one is to remap. If you can't see certain parts, like if you have tunnel vision, it can remap some of the stuff that you're not seeing into places where you can see, and a glare filter as well. Microsoft's created this cane that you can use to explore virtual worlds. So if you encounter some type of virtual object, you'll feel some type of physical feedback and vibration, and also sound, 3D sound. Prosthetics are also really interesting. So, for example, this kind of prosthetic, actually, these people who have this kind of prosthetic, they can go faster than human runners. After a certain distance, I think it was like 200 meters. And they actually designed courses for this kind of race to stop them from accelerating too much. So it's not usually a straight course, but rather curved or something. We also have these guys who are called blade runners. And we also have, there's even a sort of a strange case of a guy who wanted to see what it was like to live as a goat. So he designed his own robotic goat suit, and he spent 3 days living on all fours somewhere, I think in Switzerland maybe, and then he said it was very stressful. Well, one can imagine. There's extended reality in robotics is of course useful also for business and commerce. This is an idea that I really like about using VR control of robot waiters to enable disabled people to have sort of a normal life, to contribute and to get money and all this type of stuff to feel really useful. This is this Dawn Avatar Robot Cafe in Tokyo, whose stated goal is the elimination of loneliness from the human race, which is quite interesting. And there are a horde of different robots that are used right now in restaurants and the food industry. I can't go into any of those in detail, but for example, there's this robot cat waiter named Bella that's apparently popular. There's robots that are used in convenience stores to maybe stock drinks and stuff like that. There's ideas also to use similar things at train stations for people to use a virtual robot to sell veggies and fruits. Virtual robots have also been made leaders of companies. They are interfaces for a hotel related to technology and esports. Robots are also very, very important for delivery. So this includes like robots like Starship and as well as drones maybe in the future. Drones are even used though today, I think, in difficult environments where there are no roads or whatever to deliver medical supplies. But there's videos that you can see about people using teller robots to go to stores and shop. There's mobile vending machines that don't just stand in one place, but travel around. These systems are, of course, not perfect. They often wind up doing very strange things, getting lost and being destroyed somehow. Commerce, digital fashion. We have virtual dressing rooms, of course. We have some interesting designs to thwart intrusive tracking. Like we have one, which is this Jing Tsai Lewis digital face projector. It's got something that will project a different face onto your own so that you can't be recognized. There's these robotic dresses that maybe use smoke or little spider legs that come out to keep people away when there's some type of danger. Digital twins are another thing where there's big business in industry. So making a digital twin of some very expensive thing like an oil rig or a rocket or something like that. So you can sort of test and not maybe save some money and be faster to develop and explore things. There's also these giant 3D displays being built now, like this cat in Tokyo. There's a giant cat wandering around on a billboard. Research is being done on how people can control multiple robots. Maybe this relates a little bit to this idea of attention economics, that human attention is sort of a scarce resource, and we want to allocate that in an effective way. So instead of one person constantly controlling one robot, they can maybe allow the robot to do simple things and then leap in when there's a real need. There's simulations of subway stations and such. Virtual graduation ceremonies have been also done using these sort of gaming environments like Minecraft, and also using robots in COVID-19 to be very safe. This is done in many countries. XRR systems are also used to teach about disasters in nature. For example, this AR app was created recently to teach children about fire and flash floods. And they can do it in a very immersive, engaging way. Instead of just being told something by a teacher, they can actually figure out things themselves. When they put their head close to the ground, there's not so much smoke. So they figure out, okay, in a real disaster, maybe that's a good idea. There's this AR sandbox where they can learn about geology and hydrology and erosion conservation and this kind of thing. There's these physical actuators that can be used to test earthquake resistance in buildings that students design and build. So it shakes, and then you see which constructs are strong and which constructs are weak. Games are great because they can be fun and have these positive effects to trust and stuff like that if you do it right. And we can incorporate extended reality ideas. You can have virtual robot NPCs in these things. For example, Walkabout is a system we have in Sweden that incorporates game elements. It's a virtual world. Teachers have used games like Assassin's Creed to teach high school history students, so they would be able to visit ancient Greece and learn about it, take quizzes. And there's many types of games that could be used for this. There's many proximity chats as well, where you can maybe take on some totally different form, like an animal's form, and chat in a way that's much more realistic than Zoom, in the sense that you can easily split away to have mini meetings, then come back for a larger meeting. There's also many nice apps you can download on your smartphone, like Snap Camera's AR filters, which I'm using right now. And there's also XRR that can help you to learn how to draw and paint and stuff like that. 3D scanner app to 3D scan things, Magic Plan and Archie to learn about architecture. Like you can imagine what would happen in this road if there was an overpass here. AR extensions for robots. There's research being done here. For example, if you have AR on the robot itself, the researchers found that the robot can seem more likable, more social. If you use AR like to indicate your goal or something, or some object, some referent, then this can result in faster, more accurate performance for a human robot team. Our collaborators in Örebro have also made a really cool ARR system, which uses gaze tracking. So it has humans, like in an industrial environment, maybe they're wearing gaze trackers, and then we can see where they're looking. So the robot can guess where they want to walk, and it can plan its own path in a very smart way based on that, and then also indicate, okay, I'm going over here by projecting its path. We have many robots with projected faces. So the earliest example of this was an entertainment display by Disney, but there's many, like in Sweden, we have this fur hat robot. Robot simulators is also quite a big business. We have this thing called Robot Operating System 1 and 2, which is like a framework, and it has many useful tools that roboticists often use. The goal is to share the code, so everybody doesn't have to build their own code that does exactly the same thing. We can have some type of shared framework that many people use. Weebots is another robot simulator. We have these interesting androids that were being used to explore human science and what happens when we have something that looks like a human. What if it says, what a human says. What if can it move like a human? This kind of thing. This is an interesting robot from a while ago, where it's physically can change its shape. So often robots use projectors because or displays because it's difficult to simulate all these muscles groups, right? But this was actually a physical robot that could change its shape to many different shapes. So you can have somebody walk in the room and it'll create maybe a thin or wide face and then also project onto that. There's work being done on interfaces that can allow for intimate communication, like you can hug a grandchild who is in a faraway place. They can hug you back through the robot. There's sort of also these darker examples of XRR systems, like this dark web robot that was quite interesting. It was an AI basically that was downloading stuff from the dark web, like drugs and stuff like that. But it's not that its programmers hadn't programmed it to do that. It did it on its own. And then there's a guy who created a VR headset that would explode if you died within a game. And this was based on a Japanese cartoon. There's also touchable holograms that use ultrasound or other means like laser or fans that are quite interesting ways to see what people are dreaming afterwards, to actually convey that to somebody else, ways to allow people with disabilities to live their life in sort of an easier and better way, for example, using brain-machine interfaces and pose detection and stuff like that. So that was a few examples of different kinds of technologies related to extended reality and robotics. I hope you heard something interesting. See you next lecture.